Burman that everybody spoke about what a genius he was and how ahead of his times he was, but nobody bothered to understand why he was called genius or why he was ahead of time or how he was ahead of time. She is one of those rare artists who had both sides so perfectly worked out. She could sing the Marudam, she could sing Piya To Ab To Aaja, and she could sing a perfectly Lalit Rag composition. They never were afraid of experimenting something. And I think fear stops people from doing more things than failures, actually. And not just singer, she's also such a fantastic raconteur, such a fantastic storyteller. She
I
knows.
see.
Yes. She went on to perform as late as a couple of years back. Okay. Now, it's not common among musicians to keep on performing when you're 90.
Yes, yeah.
And the lady never went off key, never went besura.
Hello, welcome to the Federal. We have with us Mr. Brahmanand Singh. He's the chairman and founder of Mobius Films, and he's a Mumbai-based national award-winning filmmaker. He's well known for having made a film on RD Burman called Pancham Unmixed. He's also done a film on Jagjit Singh and a film called Jal Ki, which is based on Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi and his work on child trafficking. Welcome, Mr. Singh, to the Federal.
Hello, big hello to you.
I like to start off asking you about your documentary that you made on R.D. Burman. Can you give us briefly why did you make a film, how you approached the film?
Well, it's a long time back that I did the film, but the film has not stopped running. It remains a cult film. It's seen by thousands of people every new day. And why I did was something very simple. We are a country of not very good archivers, I feel so. The people who are our legends, people who are our legacies, we don't have as evolved an art form as is needed to actually capture the legacy and have it archived somewhere for people's references. 50 years later, 100 years later, if people want to know who they were, they should be able to know these people. And that was essentially what drove me to make a film on R.D. Burman that everybody spoke about what a genius he was and how ahead of his times he was, but nobody bothered to understand why he was called genius or why he was ahead of time or how he was ahead of time. So those were some of the reasons that drove me to make the film, and I'm happy I made that film.
Yes, yeah. And what about the segment on Asha Bhosle ji? What did you concentrate on this? How did you bring out this very electrifying collaboration between Asha Bhosle and R.D. Burman?
Well, the thing is that Asha Bhosle was a very important part of Pancham's life, and Pancham was a very important part of Asha Bhosle's life. I think the two of them collaborated. It's probably one of the best collaborations of singer, composer kind, the kind that probably Madan Mohan had with Lata Mangeshkar or Asha Bhosle had with O.P. Nayyar. Yeah, Pancham Asha Bhosle was brilliant combination. Pancham had a few other collaborations like that with Gulzar. But Asha Bhosle's was, and it wasn't exactly electrifying as people think it was, you know. People think that Asha Bhosle is all about the cabaret numbers and raunchy songs, and which she sang with great flourish and aplomb, there was no doubt. But she is an amazing person, and we must talk about her since she's passed away yesterday. She is one of those rare artists who had both sides so perfectly worked out. She could sing the Marudam, she could sing Piya To Ab To Aja, and she could sing a perfectly Lalit Rag composition, or Koi Diya Jale, Bhini Bhini Bhor, चैन से हमको कभी, it's an amazing song, or Umrao Jan songs for that matter. So that this range, I don't think we see this in any. Most big artists have good range, but this is phenomenal. It's like, Sachin Tendulkar in cricket, or uh, Gary Sobers and Ron Bradman. And she had everything in her arsenal. She could sing everything, and she could sing it so, so perfectly. There was not an iota of flaw,
I
which is a.
see. And her collaboration and partnership with RD Burman, in your view, how did that evolve? And it
Yeah.
was such a
I think
successful collaboration.
I think in that what happened was that R.D. Burman somewhere, well, he was very good at tapping the strings of each singer, and we all live our lives on our strengths, not our flaws. He could catch those, the textures, the attitude, the way Asha Bhosle was capable of doing. And I think he pushed the limits. He really pushed the limits. And Asha Bhosle, in a very, very trusted way, almost would flow with them, you know. So there was a beautiful relationship in one person knowing the texture, no one person knowing the depths and the limits that he could explore, and the other person completely trusting the composer and going ahead and trying that without any hesitation. And I think the inherent nature of both of them were experimentation. They never were afraid of experimenting something. And I think fear fear stops people from doing more things than failures, actually. And
Correct.
that was one thing that you never saw in R.D. Burman or in Asha Bhosle. They were bold. They tried it out. My God, what work they have done. It's
So you're
amazing.
saying they both had this nature of experimentation which made them in sync with each other in their partnership, basically. They were so
Ex-
much in sync, right? When I sent you that video too, you could see them singing that song
So
together.
yeah, instinct you can say, but I would call it intuition more than instinct, Instinct is physical reflex. Intuition is something divine that you tap into and you
Mm,
flow. So I feel that works of art and works of intellect have a lot of intuition attached to it, and both of them valued it. And both of them worked a lot on that. It's not that they just thought of something and did it. Once they were open to thinking and experimenting anything, and then build it up. So, as is saying that uh, know the rules like a like a professional, break the rules like an artist. You know. So Picasso had said this, but it applies in all forms. That you have to know the rules, but don't live by the rules. Break it after knowing it. And that's exactly what both of
what
them
they
did.
did.
Yes.
I see. And in your film, you interview her. You interview Asha Bhosle
Hmm.
in your documentary.
Yes, I did.
So, what did she have to say about R.D. Burman?
Oh, we had to say lots of very
Yeah,
insightful things, and
but
they kind
any
of told,
insights that you can share with us? Sorry.
yeah, she was talking about his again at length the experimental side, that how he didn't bother about anything. He once he got into his head, he would go and try and do it. And she explained and described the atmosphere that was around when RD Burman composed. How how even strangers told her that, let me know the time that RD is composing. I'd like to have a glimpse of that, and so on and so forth. And even more, his emotional intelligence, which made him get the best of the artists. All singers loved singing for RD. All musicians loved playing for RD. So the same musicians would play for other great musicians also, composers also. But here they discovered magic. And one of the key factors to that was that he allowed them freedom. He encouraged them. He was himself forever trying out new things. So there was an element of fun and excitement all the time. Everyone going for the recording would wonder what's new that's going to be discussed today. So that you look forward to in any work atmosphere. And I think that these are things that was brought out so well by Asha Bhosle that it 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 made the documentary very rich from Asha's perspective.
And what was your impression of Asha Bhosle, and how was what was your interaction with her like? How
Well,
would you
my
describe
interaction
her?
with her has been off and on, but the impression that I have and the understanding that I have is that there will never be a singer like Asha Bhosle, and and not just singer. She's also such a fantastic raconteur, such a fantastic storyteller. She
I
knows,
see.
yes, she she has. See, she's gone through a lot in life. So that resilience, survivor, whatever you call it, is inbuilt in her, and the way to diffuse that was fun, having fun. So she could do that. She could put on the front of absolute fun. And I think it helped her in her singing, in her music, at least in in moods that uplifted her and everyone around her. So she was good fun to work with. Everybody will testify that.
I
Not
see.
not the kind who complained too much and who found faults. Let the spirits be high. Let the spirits talk music, creativity, fun, humor, jokes, you know,
I
those
see.
kinds of things.
And did you talk about her personal relationship with R.D. Burman, their marriage, and did did the documentary focus on that?
So in the film, I didn't talk much about that because it was much more than that I had to explore. I had to explore R.D. Burman, the genius, the music composer who the world looked up to. So, in terms of priority, this side got compromised a little bit because the film couldn't have been more than two hours. It was not the era of web series, so probably So I didn't deliberately go too much into that, but it was it was a very well thought out relationship, I think. And the common ground of relationship was music.
Music.
They held on music, yes. And if you have
But
music,
did she talk about her marriage, or did she talk about
a
the personal side of their relationship at all?
little bit, but not much. See, Asha Bhosle was also someone who had lived a life with all sorts of ups and downs.
Yes.
First, she she, she eloped with Mr. Bhosle, so she was that much passionate and in love with him.
At
And then
sixteen.
for
Yeah.
some reason, it didn't turn out to be a very good marriage. And so after having high, she had to go through that low and almost at the pits of her life when she walked out and she ran away. And she had children, she had mouths to feed, living to fend on. And I think that built her up. Then again, she had a very interesting partnership, come relationship, whatever you call it, with Opinayer.
Opinayer. Yes.
So that was again an amazing phase in her life. So and in the same way, the third such phase was RD Burman. So when you go through a couple of them has not worked out, you don't go on talking too much about something that has worked out too well. So
Don't
it
want to
remains.
jinx it.
No, but I think if we don't go into the relationship, if we talk about partnership, it was an amazingly creative partnership.
Yes. But she did separate from Mr. R.D. Burman, right? And so there was that as well. And
No, not really. She didn't technically separate from him. Just that they they also drifted a little apart towards
they
uh,
lived apart. Yeah.
yeah, they did in the last years.
Yeah. So, does your film capture the R.D. Burman slide, his career going downhill?
See, it catches his loneliness, okay, which was much better than Asha Bhosle staying there or not, okay. It was his loneliness, it was his low phase, it was his industry rejection, it was the same industry that thought he was a genius and he was ahead of his time. At one point of time, stopped valuing him or stopped flocking around him. So the film catches those things.
I see. I see.
Well, since it's Asha
But
Bhosle who passed away yesterday, and we are still trying to come to terms with such a loss, I think we should be talking about uh, uh, talking about Asha Bhosle. That the things that made her who she was unthinkable and could not have happened. I feel if she had not had a rough and smooth kind of life, these things add a dimension to singers, musicians, composers, artists, all that. Asha Bhosle was a very intelligent, sharp, sensitive woman who only gained from these things. And you can see it in her singing. What she has left with us is unmatched. You can continue listening to her songs for another 100 years without any loss. You know,
yes,
from the
they're
50s
timeless. Actually, they're timeless and evergreen. The
and the
songs.
kind of numbers that she sung, and all of them effortlessly. She never
Yes.
thought that she was recording something masterpiece or something. Yes, it was. play an ordinary job. That's the best part of a lot of these geniuses. When they are creating those, they never think that they are creating some masterpiece. And those who think they're creating some kind of masterpiece, they don't turn out to be masterpiece. So,
Correct.
so masterpiece can be only decided by others. And
Yes.
we are the others who decide what wealth Asha ji leaves with us in terms of her singing, in terms of her composition. Amazing stuff.
Yes. And you said that you regretted not making a documentary on Asha Bhosle. Uh, why did that not materialize, though?
No, I regret not making a docu on her while she was still alive.
Yeah.
See, I've made docus on Pancham and Jagjit Singh, and many other people, and many of them, a film can be made even when they're not there.
Yes.
But that's a different kind of film, and you have great advantage when that person is alive, and she is such a wonderful storyteller.
Hmm.
I I really wish I could have made the film about maybe 7, 8 years back when she was still at her prime.
Yes.
She she had not, no, she was old, but not that old, and she had all her faculties working. See, she she went on to perform as late as a couple of years back. Okay, now it's not common among musicians to keep on performing when you're 90. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
and the lady never went off key, never went बेसुरा. सो मैंने जो उसमें बोला ना कि बड़े गुलाम अली अली खान कहते थे लता मंगेशकर के बारे में when he was awestruck that कमबख्त कभी भूले से भी बेसुरी नहीं होती.
Hmm.
ना? Same thing applies for Asha Bhosle also. Amazing.
Yes.
But I don't think, and she had the pedigree. Other than a genius family, as I would call it, other than a genius father who probably she saw till a certain time, she also trained herself in a very formal way. She learned from Ustad Ali Akbar Khan. That was no ordinary tutelage. And I think she was, again, like Pancham, very, very open to listening to music, Western music. She also collaborated with Boy George and
Boy
others.
George.
Yeah. So it was amazing how she could, and God gifted voice and talent. I mean,
Hmm.
there's one particular song where where the violin starts and where her voice fades is difficult to say.
Which
And
song is that?
we always, I'll tell you the song, and we always take that song and we have it as a wonderful query among the fans ourselves, that so where does the film start, where does the song start, her voice end, and where does the violence start.
So,
I'll tell you the song, you can play it.
and yeah, also, is there any particular anecdote that you have regarding Asha Bhosle that you'd like to share with us?
Mm, not
In
an anecdote, but I have been at many gatherings where we have experienced how good a mimic she is. She was brilliant. She could mimic anyone. She
oh
could
yeah,
mimic she could mimic her own sister like nobody else. She was brilliant. I think she had a great fun side. So I don't have anecdotes suitable enough to talk on this channel, but it was great fun. It was always rollicking.
She would mimic her sister Lataji in what way? I mean,
She
uh,
could like we mimic when friends meet. She could she could reproduce the things. She could add her own imagination with that. She was see mimicry works like that, where you say things that are not be said, but could have been said in that way.
yeah,
So
correct. But it's sad there's no book on her, or is there any books on her? No, there's no biography or autobiography now on Asha Bhosle. Like you said, it's important to have archive on all these great people, but unfortunately,
biopics, especially docu biopics, I feel is a genre that not many people uh, think of exploring, and it's a very valid genre, and it does not cost too much, though it does not cost too little either. And I think someone, some corporate houses, some government funds, something needs to be there for artists to make such
I
biopic.
think Doordarshan used to do that earlier. I've seen
Yeah,
some
but don't go by that.
films
Don't.
division. I think I've
Yeah.
seen
So
Malayalam filmmakers. I've seen,
yeah. So, but that
or on
that's but
Krishnamurti,
that's
J.D.
where things
Krishnamurti.
don't work because a government setup will have a certain notion of how the film should be
Yeah,
made at certain budget that the film should be made. The world has gone 10 times beyond that, and they
yeah,
are still stuck in that mode. When you make films like that, then nobody sees it. The whole point,
yes,
you know, and nobody has given documentaries a bad name more than at one point of time the kinds of film that films division would make, the kind of film that Doordarshan would make, and they also made some good films, but the percentage
yeah,
was so low that
low.
mostly people would say that, oh, documentary, it's a documentary means it's going to be boring, it's going to be dull.
Anyway, thanks for talking to us, Mr. Singh, and it was
Welcome.
really
Wish your
enjoyable.
platform, wish your platform the best, and wish you form an important part to perpetuate Asha Bhosle's memories now that she's no longer there. Do whatever you can to spread the news.